So, Damaris, who'd have thought a year ago we would be sitting here in masks, which had become a sign of the times,
I know.
talking about the coronavirus, which, I don't know about you, but literally 12 months ago, it barely registered for me. I sort of heard this rumour of this virus coming out of China, and you just sort of think, whatever, be fine. But here we are, like a year later, essentially, almost a full year since the first lockdown. And obviously, we've tragically, in the last week, passed the 100,000 deaths from coronavirus in the UK. Probably even more, probably around 120,000. I think the worldwide deaths are over 2 million, which is staggering. And cases of worldwide is over 100 million, I believe.
Yeah.
And there's talk of a new normal. The world has completely changed in the last year. And I guess the question that I'd have for you, I'm going to start off with a really difficult question, put you on the spot. The coronavirus. Is God behind it? Did God cause the coronavirus?
I think cause is the word that I'm I don't believe he caused it. Definitely not. I believe that God is a good God, and he will take bad things and he will transform in good things, but he's not oh yes, now I will allow this, do this, and I'll kill thousands and thousands of people. I don't actually believe that, because Jesus came to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't come to kill anyone. He came to save the world, and he came to give us freedom and everything else. So I believe that God can use this. I believe that as a good father, he saw what was going on, and he cannot just pretend we are not robots.
Yeah.
And we know that this came from people. It's not someone, I'm not saying that someone created it, but I'm saying it came from people. We did something and this happened.
Yeah.
So because we are not robots and we have free will, God saw it and he was oh yeah, this is going to be a bad thing. But he didn't actually stop it, because if he stops everything bad that happens in the world, we will be literally robots. And I believe that we have enough authority and enough free will to just decide the things that happen to us.
Yeah.
And sometimes it goes wrong, because not everyone wants to seek what God wants us to do. But sometimes it goes wrong, and but I don't believe he caused it. What do you think about it?
I think a lot of people might look at the Old Testament and say, well, God sent plagues and God sent, this and that and disasters. And I can see how people can come to that question quite easily, because that's true. We can't ignore that fact. But at the same hand, you read throughout Scripture, for many, many years, God sent prophets, messengers to warn the people, repent, turn away, or, things are going to not be good for you.
Yeah.
In this, and often the things that God sent were for very specific purposes. I don't think this is that case. I think it's very much been a work of kind of man and things like that. Don't necessarily know the reasons. I think some of them we've spoken about, we've heard about bats and pangolins and all this sort of stuff. We're going to get into a little bit into that. But no, I think completely what you say. Even though I don't think God caused it, I do think this is a time where naturally when anyone faces crisis, it can really cause you to reflect on things and it can challenge us all. And I think that's really what I think hopefully will come from this.
Yeah. What do you think God is doing through this season for many and many people?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because when the pandemic first started, I don't know whether it's my natural response to really bad things, traumatic things, or maybe just the fact that I didn't capture the enormity of what it was going to be. But actually, I was very positive early on. I thought, well, this could be a really good opportunity for the church because I'd been beating the drum about we need to do some stuff online. We need young people particularly spend an insane amount of hours a week online. And the church presence online isn't necessarily always very good.
Yeah.
A lot of the churches in our area, some of them barely had Facebook pages, never mind live streaming. And I think, realistically, a lot of the churches have kind of upskilled in that time. But I think, there's a sense that we can reach out to more people or whatever. But I think as time has gone on, some of that positivity, that, you know, glass half full thing, I've kind of seen more reality behind it, and actually more of like, actually, there are some great things that God will do for it.
Yeah.
I think when communities are broken down, like this, you know, like we've had most of this year, I think it does make people realise what they've missed and what they haven't got. And I do hope that when things are back kind of more to normal, that actually people do want to kind of gather more in community. And even now that people can look out for each other more. And you hear some incredible stories of people that, you know, will contact neighbours that they barely know and say, look, do you need anything? I can get you some shopping or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've heard of like street groups started on WhatsApp, you know, where these people have not had any relationships before. And in this pandemic, they've all come together. Yeah. To say that that is like a clean sweep across the world, and that these sort of stories are like a majority, I think would be dishonest. But I do think we are challenged into our consumerism, into our individuality. When you're forced to be so insular, it kind of makes you reflect on some things. So we've got a response that I think we still haven't seen the crest of the wave. We've still got a lot that we will see the response from. But I do think there is a big challenge for us. And I do think some positive things will emerge from it. But also, reality is a lot of negative things have emerged and will emerge. Like, I think in terms of people going into poverty and losing their jobs, I do worry a little bit about how that is going to explode over the next, when furlough payments run out and all that sort of stuff. What about you, Damaris? What do you see God kind of doing through it?
I personally and globally, I've seen God positioning people in different places. I've seen so many people changing jobs and doing different things, and myself as well. I started the pandemic being a coffee shop manager. In the middle of the pandemic, God spoke to me and I became a worship pastor. And this is something that I've seen over and over again with a lot of friends, because I think that because we had this time that we could do whatever we wanted, we actually went to pray more and to read more. And that gave us the okay, this is what God is saying. But because we were so busy and we were so doing whatever we wanted to do and living life in a very, very busy way, we didn't actually stop to think and to realize what God wanted. But I think during this time, for everyone, we have more time, not the NHS people. Guys, we honor you a lot.
Yeah,
so
amazing.
God bless you all. But not the NHS people, of course, but normal people, 90% of the people, we were forced to be in our homes. So I think for a lot of us, we started to reflect a lot. Okay, how is my life looking like? How am I as a person? What do I want to be in some years? I don't have the opportunity to travel. I don't have the opportunity to do this, that. But when I do, what am I going to do? What am I doing with my money? What am I doing to help other people? And I think we started actually to gain conscience of what we do with our lives. And I think that's very important. Of course, in the beginning of lockdown, there were crazy people buying all the toilet paper in the whole world, which was crazy. But I think that as things went on, people realized that if we are not kind to each other, we are not going anywhere. So
absolutely, yeah. And obviously, there's been a lot of discussion around the coronavirus. A lot of people posting things on Facebook, why are people not wearing masks? And this person's got in my way, and and then there's been a lot of people kind of talking about how others have been reacting and acting, and then I've seen a lot on social media, conspiracy theories, and from some Christian friends, talk of the end times and stuff like that. What's your take on that?
So I'm very funny with this because I actually liked sometimes watching conspiracy theories because it's so interesting. You can spend your whole day doing that. But because of that, you can spend so much time, I decided, I'm not actually watching this. Yeah. Because another thing in lockdown, I already said, the time, you have so much time, and if you spend your whole time just watching conspiracy theories, at least in my personal life, I started to get fearful and to be no, this is crazy. So instead of spending so much time in conspiracy theories, I was like trying to watch like more positive stuff.
Yeah.
But I do understand that there are a lot of questions that we don't know the answers. I do understand that the media does a massive job in like increasing things and creating panic. That's like something that we cannot deny. And about the end times, I was speaking to you earlier that like as Christians, we need to live as Jesus is coming back every day. It's not just like a massive event that maybe will happen or maybe not. Like it will happen, but we don't know when. So for us, if this is the end times, like amazing, like we're gonna go, like that's what we want. We want to meet Jesus. We want to be in heaven. But what we need to think about is like, what are we doing about the other people?
Yeah.
What are we doing about people that doesn't know Jesus, that are suffering right now? Like,
Big time.
if it's the end times, okay, let's go through it. But let's try to bring as many people as we can to the kingdom of God and to like actually show them the way. And I think that's the thing we need to focus on. So
I completely agree. I think when I first became a Christian, I was like well into studying the end times.
Amazing.
And I think it is important to sometimes to have a knowledge of what the Bible says about prophecy, about the future, so we can avoid sort of deceptions. And the Bible also instructs us to be ready, you know, not to understand like some of the deceptions in this world that might come up to take us away from Jesus, because there will be some. But it also says avoid idle speculation. And actually, like you said, it's that rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, end times, prophecy. And some of them are a bit unhinged, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like some of them, I'm sure, are a bit like godly biblical people, but some of them just it just feels like it's their own agenda, and it's just And I think you can get lost in it, and it takes away your peace. And like you said, it takes your eyes off what we're called to actually do, which is to love our neighbours as ourselves, to make disciples, to worship God. Because when you're focusing on such negativity.
Yeah.
It's very hard to worship in that place. It's very hard to really worship in spirit and truth. So, but in terms of like the conspiracy theories, I think there are a few things about the pandemic that don't ring true to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And that there's some questions that I don't think have been satisfactorily answered. Particularly in terms of like the origins of the pandemic, and that's not just. I'm not necessarily making a claim on that either way. But I do think it's important, like we should be able to ask those questions and not be dismissed as lunatics.
Yeah.
And sometimes, the media, I think, has often proven itself not to be trustworthy, to pump agendas and fears. And sometimes I think governments, if we put governments up as a god, as an idol, actually governments are fallible. Sometimes they might have particular intentions that might be economically driven, or for certain, if we say this, then we can pass this rule because people get on board with it.
Yeah.
And people would like to talk about the mark of the beast. And I don't think a vaccine is the mark of the beast. I mean, they've been saying that about vaccines for the last 100 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be really careful about that. But I think sometimes we should allow. There seems to be a big suppression on freedom of speech at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
If you're not following a certain line of thinking. And I think wherever you're coming from on certain topics, that should worry us all.
Yeah.
And I think just in terms of like the discussion around the coronavirus, I think there's a challenge for us all to be a bit nicer, a bit kinder.
Yeah.
And sometimes to let people have, because we're all going through trauma with this. Sometimes I'm out and I'm like, why isn't this person wearing a mask, or they're standing too close to me?
Yeah.
And that's a natural response, because we can be.
Yeah.
But actually, sometimes it's not about focusing on other people in such a negative way.
Yeah.
It's about like, okay, we just have to try and take responsibility for ourselves and how we can bless others.
Yeah.
Rather than constantly kind of sniping at each other over differences of opinion.
And sometimes we have no idea what people are going through. We have no clue. We have no clue. And we can judge a lot and be like, like this person is not doing this, or this person is breaking some rules. And I'm like, I don't want people to break rules, but at the same time, like, so many people are struggling with anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, like incredible amount of people. And I think that we actually need to be kinder, as you said, and like just pray, because we have no idea why people are acting the way they are, because this is a crazy time. I never thought that I wouldn't be able to see my family over Christmas.
Yeah.
I never thought, like my housemate, her family lives in Kent. She wasn't able. She could travel for 3 hours. It's the same country, but she was like, yeah, I can see my family. Like, no one thought that this would ever happen, and this affects a lot, like especially emotionally. So I think that instead of focusing on what people are doing wrong, we should like, how are they doing? Are they doing okay? What's going on with them? Are they mentally healthy? Like, are they healthy like in every area of their life? So so it's tricky.
And I get the desire just that we all lock down and we all let's get this out of the way as soon as possible, and we're reliant on each other to make that happen. I completely get that. But what's been asked of us at the moment is significant. You can't see your family. Christmas Day for all of us, it was like, okay, go and quickly see my parents, and then get home, and stuff, and people with small children, some of them find that very difficult to be isolated. People with mental health issues, and as you say, we do really need to have that compassion, and we can get so lost in our kind of judgments, can't we?
Yeah, and that's what this does to us, like isolation. It makes us sometimes less kind to people and more judgy, and just like, I will take care of what is mine and you take care of what is yours, and I don't care. Like, no, like there are the two ways, like, or you get kinder or you get worse, and we need to choose that every day.
Definitely.
Like, so But speaking about more fun stuff, like, what happened during lockdown for you? Like, since the beginning of lockdown, things like good things that you did, like good things that you learned during this season. There are some like good things you're bringing with you.
I think for me, the biggest thing for me is that I've got a child of 3. Well, he's 4 in March, and I've got a baby that was born at the end of October. And I think, like, as a family, we've had some difficult times, particularly with the older child. That he's sometimes been a bit hard going. But honestly, I do really feel like I've really bonded with my family in this time, like my household. Like, for some, I know it's probably taken them the other way, and they've kind of been almost too much in each other's space, and it's been really challenging. But for us, it's been really, really enjoyable, and I think definitely feel a lot closer.
Amazing.
I think sometimes, like, you can get lost in stuff, can't you? And you can get lost in your job, lost with friendships and your leisure time and all that stuff. And sometimes don't necessarily spend quality time with the people that you live with. And I think that's something that has been a real blessing, almost an enforced blessing, but it's been a real blessing. And just stuff like, we've done quite a few things. We've obviously watched a lot of Netflix and Prime and stuff like that, But stuff like going on walks together. Like, I've been on more walks with my family in the last year than the rest of my life, And that,
I understand.
There's something really nice about that, isn't there? There's something quite precious about it. And just like silly things, like occasionally we've kind of danced in front of the TV. And do you know what I mean? Like that kind of just silly stuff that you do just to kind of keep yourself sane. Yeah, what about you?
Like, I've released some songs last year, and I started to produce some songs. Brilliant. Because I had like much time to like go into that. I started to live with my best friend and another housemate, and that has been great. We get to spend a lot of time with each other and just do things together. And it's like I said, like, I'm Brazilian, so I don't like going for a walk. This is not something we do.
Not in England.
No, So, especially not in England when it's raining. But during this time, I was like, let's go for a walk. And I actually started to enjoy things that are so simple that I didn't enjoy before, that I thought, like, that I took for granted. So, like, going on a walk, just like seeing some friends. Like, sometimes I go somewhere to a park and I just spot some friends and we are like talking really loud, but like we are just talking to each other, and that's like something that is really good, because I just appreciate more every time I get to see some people, or every time I get to do simple things that I could before, but I
do you find more people have been quite friendly as well out and about? More people saying hello and stuff.
Yeah.
Like a year ago, it was like, hello.
Like, huh? Yeah.
What do you want? What do you want? You know. Whereas
Yeah.
now it's kind of like, all right, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, and I realized that like if you see a friend, if you're going somewhere and you see a friend, you guys talk for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Instead of like, how are you? Oh, good. Okay, bye. Like before, it was just like this. Like I don't care. Like just let me go. Now, if we see each other, we are just chatting and chatting and
Yeah.
chatting because we miss having like communion. We miss being with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool in some parts.
I do like some of the Zoom stuff as well, because I think at the moment I feel a bit zoomed out because we
Yeah.
use it for work a lot, and you know sometimes you have to kind of just make sure you're presentable and you're in a good mood.
Yeah.
But I do think like there's some like we do a quiz every week. We do like, and that's just been so much fun.
Yeah.
And just we play this game Jackbox Party Pack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was there.
Some of my friends, you've played that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
played that.
It's good fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bit rude, but
Is it? Oh,
it can be.
I
You can
didn't know.
change the family settings. But,
Amazing. I had a cheese and wine with my friends.
oh, yeah.
Zoom cheese and wine, which was like fun. And yeah, that's the thing. Like we can find ways to have fun still,
Yeah.
even though we cannot see each other.
And there's been some really creative stuff as well, hasn't there? Like some of the videos that have gone on YouTube, like some of the exercise videos have been quite
Yeah.
creative, particularly ones for like children and families. Yeah, like I think some people have discovered like gifts and talents in this time, and
Exactly.
there-
Yeah.
you know, there has been some good stuff.
I went to a lot of conferences online, got
Mhm.
a lot of prophetic words, like stuff that you will do it live, but you get to do it with like people from all over the world and still
Yeah.
have a very good experience and meet God.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
So, in terms of like the church, I've kind of slightly touched on it, but how do you feel like the church has responded to the coronavirus?
I think generally, I think everyone got scared at first because no one knew what to do, and it was quite difficult to think that we wouldn't be able to have church if we didn't come to the building. But I think with the months we realized that yeah, we should be doing this stuff on the internet and just like proclaiming God and using social media and everything else to just like do things. This reminds me of the church in the New Testament because they didn't have a specific like church building, but they had the houses of people, and that's when they built communion. And of course, we cannot go to other people's houses, but we can do services with our family. We can do moments of worship. We can read more. We can pray more with our families, and that's what changes everything. Because one thing is everyone coming to a place in a church. There is like a lot of lights together. But when you have like spotlights everywhere in the city, something changes in the atmosphere, and I really believe that.
Absolutely.
So, how about you? What do you think about it?
I think I share your points. I think before the lockdown, I was really conscious that sometimes in amongst the church there can be a mentality of show up to the building,
Yeah.
go through the rituals, go through the motions, and you know that's that basically. And I think some of that might have been really challenging this time. And when I say that, I want to be careful because I do think, you know, the sacraments are really important.
Yeah.
The meeting together is extremely important. And I really do miss that. I do miss the kind of more traditional elements of church that.
Yeah.
And I feel for some of the people whose faith, you know, is rooted in that, because there is something very powerful about the stability of that. But ultimately, you know, our faith is within us. It's not within a building. It's within the people. That's the church.
Yeah.
And so I think this has been, you know, a big lesson in that. And maybe there might have been some form of change within some people that actually we are having to become somewhat more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
I do feel for people that might have been left out technologically,
Yeah.
but I also have seen a lot of people, maybe more so on the older side, but not always, who have actually made some good advancements in terms of their own understanding of technology.
Yeah.
And actually, I've seen the joy in that they've actually felt that has opened up a bit of the world to them. They can connect with relatives abroad and things like that, you know, which is... So there's a plus side. I think within the church we've seen it's drawn in some more people because, as I say, loads of people spend time online and we're able to... I think sometimes we've been a bit quiet online and a bit not necessarily present. Not every church, but for some churches, certainly not this church, but you know, some churches have really had to learn the skills to communicate, to reach out.
Yeah.
And as I say, loads of people spend time online. But we've also lost people,
Yeah.
and I think some people have disengaged. So to look at it purely positive, it is a mistake. I do wonder about, other things that we're forgetting at this time, other people that are going missing, and that does bother me,
Yeah.
other people that are adrift that we should be doing more for. And I think sometimes we can focus so much on the online stuff that we forget some of the
Yeah.
like the phoning people and the kind of the other sort of stuff, really. So
Yeah.
but there's a mixed bag, but I think there's been some really good elements to
Yeah.
it.
It's like you said, like nothing can really how can I replace when the church comes together.
Oh, no.
Nothing can replace that.
I really miss it, don't you?
I really miss it. Like I had a dream last week where I was leading worship.
Yeah.
And I started to sing and the whole congregation sang with me and it was like a massive noise. And in my dream I remember I was like, oh my goodness, can we do that now? Can we do that? And I remember I woke up, I was like, I cannot wait to be leading worship and hear the congregation singing, because that's one of the best parts. It's just like that when you realize that you're actually leading people to Jesus and they are like expressing their hearts and their love for Jesus through what they sing and what they say.
I hope that's a prophecy that you're sharing in terms of when
really
we do
hope to.
return. I hope that I've always kind of like had this sort of, this joke about, I've heard from people about, this challenge that people at football grounds can sometimes be worshipping, albeit they're not worshipping God, more than some Christians, because they're just like,
Yeah.
And I do wish that when we come back to church, that when things are safe, that we are uninhibited and that we are free, and that a moment when we can first kind of do that, like, would just be so emotional and be so moving and so needed for the soul, I think that's one thing you'll know better than me as a worship leader, but we're made to worship, and that is a big part of a lot of people that has been missing, that corporate worship.
I think even when you come here, like we come here every Sunday and we lead people, but it's online. We miss that response.
Definitely.
Of course, when I lead straight to the heart of God, and He's the person I'm leading to. I take people with me, but He's the person I'm loving. He's the person I'm singing to. But at the same time, there is something powerful when everyone comes together and everyone worship God. So I really, really, really miss that, and I just hope we can do that really soon, because the whole church, everyone misses that. Like, it's so great when you can sing together and you can just have fun together and praise the Lord together. So I just hope we can do that very soon, and I'm sure it will be powerful. So.
And you started in lockdown. I started 3 weeks ago. Here. And so, there's an element where there's a lot of life and history, and just some of the people of this church that we're just not meeting, we're not discovering. And that is a shame. That is something that we, I certainly feel that loss at the moment. Although it's nice to connect with people online and stuff. So I think it's going to be really powerful to really, and to go back and do more outreach stuff as well. Because online stuff we can do a bit, but I think really to be amongst the people.
I really think that when things start to go back to normal, we will see a massive harvest. I think we'll see so many people coming to church that we are not ready for that. I think we don't think about that a lot because we just think about Corona and lockdown. But I really think that when people are actually released to do things that they can, we will see a lot of people coming to church and joining communities and just being interested in you guys, I saw you guys on the internet. I saw you guys doing this. So I want to experience that in person. So I really believe that a lot of good things will happen after this, and I think as Christians we should be hopeful. We shouldn't be prophesying bad stuff for the future. We should let's agree with what God is saying. He has good plans for us. He has good plans for our future. So I just hope that 2021 will be the year where my dream comes true. Literally, I'm in church and everyone is just singing together and praising God. So.
And here's a hope/prophecy.
I
really hope. I sense that maybe there's been quite a few people who have been watching secretly, who might not have a faith, but have seen that this time they've got loads of questions. The world is just crazy, they've got things that they're struggling with. and they might have just checked out the church. They might have seen it come through their news feed, and they might have a bit of an eye on it. I even think that maybe there might be people watching this video who might, you know, not necessarily be there yet, but are really thinking at this time and really like, what is this Jesus about, you know? And I just want to encourage, if that is anyone here, if that is you right now, please contact us. So I'm Mark and this is Damaris, as we've probably said. Our email address for this channel is frames@bedworthparish.org. Now, you might not be ready to kind of like a page or, you know, whatever. Maybe it's easier to speak to people. Just send us an email, contact us. And we can often get drawn into how many likes the video has got and the sort of analytics, like the statistics of how widely it's been seen. But I certainly don't think we see the full picture. And actually that is one thing that it's hard to walk into a church building when you're exploring faith and you don't know anyone. But maybe by the time the church reopens properly and things are a bit more normal, maybe people already feel like they're part of this church because they've been watching online. So that's what I really, really hope. You know, I do think there will be some of that. And we've done a couple of Alpha courses recently and we've seen people come to faith.
Amazing.
My parents came to one here and they could because they don't live in Bedworth, but they could connect through the internet. And like the changes within them is just phenomenal. I'm like really moved by it. So I think there's some really great signs ahead. But there will also be challenges. We shouldn't shy away from that. But we've all got a choice to how we respond. And I think how the church responds, people will be watching. People will be thinking like, how is this church going to help me? How is this Christianity relevant in 2021 hopefully post-COVID world? And even COVID world, you know, how can we make a difference for people? How can we show the love of God in fresh ways, in ways that actually people can't ignore it? So
that's it. That's it, people.
That's it.
Hope you enjoyed.
Hope
you are doing well in this season. If you're not, message us as well. You have our email. If you're struggling with anything, just we are here to help you. And be ready because we'll be posting more videos about other subjects. And that's it. God bless you all.
God bless.
Take care.
Bye.